So today we're learning back to basics, like back to basics. If you ask anyone, and especially an observant Jew, do you have Emuna? Do you believe in Hashem? What are you talking about? Of course I have Hashem. See, I've got 10 fingers. I've got 10 toes. Of course I believe in Hashem. You would be surprised how few people understand what it means to believe in Hashem and even know the basics, what it is, what it means, what a Jew believes in Hashem. Okay, then we're going to talk about, out of our 13 principles of Emuna, we're going to be talking about mainly our first principle of Emuna, which is, I believe with a full and complete belief that Hashem, he is creator and director of every little thing, and he alone, listen to this, he alone did, does, and will do everything. This is the key to our lesson today, because we walk around, we blame this for the one situation, we blame ourselves for another situation, we persecute ourselves, we have a grudge against someone else, we're angry at our spouses, we're angry at our children. For what? It's all from Hashem. As soon as we strengthen our Emuna, as soon as we internalize the feeling and the knowledge, the cognizance, the spiritual awareness, which in Hebrew called the das, we strengthen the das that everything is from Hashem, we do the biggest favor in the world for ourselves, because we take away all the negative emotions. And I'll tell you something else. The human body is not built for negative emotions. So what do? People can't get control of their stress. They can't get control of the anxiety. So rather than going to the source of the stress, the source of anxiety, people look for medical intervention. They look for pharmaceutical intervention. No, let's look for Hashem intervention. Let's have Hashem intervene in our lives. We have to invite Hashem into our lives. It's not enough to be frum and to put Hashem on the shelf. And okay, Hanukkah in another 2 weeks, we're going to take Hashem down from the shelf together with the Chanukiah, and we're going to light Hanukkah candles and spin the dreidel and make latkes. No, we live. This is King David. Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. This is the basics we're talking about. I live Hashem. I have Hashem's image before me. Hashem has no image, but I have the 4 letters of his name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, in front of me always. And this is what I have. And we can see with King David, he lived, he breathed with Hashem. The final pasuk in Tehillim in 150, Kol haneshama tehalelka. Every soul shall bless your name. And the Midrash Tehillim says, don't say Kol haneshama, say Kol haneshima. Adding Yud in there of Hashem's thing. It's not every soul, every breath. And this is what King David meant. With every breath, hold it. Now, wait a second. Who thanked Hashem for their lungs today? Anybody? Anybody thank Hashem for the fresh air today? Oh, you take it for granted? Well, wait a second. Maybe that's the reason there's COVID. People looking this vaccine and that vaccine, and this vaccine works. This vaccine, pro-vaccine, not vaccine. Forget the vaccine. Let's go back to the basics. This is what we're talking about, the basics. Who thanked Hashem for their lungs today? I guarantee you that once a person has COVID-19 and he feels, what's the description? I know there's people suffering. They told me the description they have is like someone is stepping on their chest. That's how hard it is to breathe. They have, and now they get better and they can breathe again. Oh no, a day doesn't go by when I thank you Hashem. I can breathe. Thank you Hashem. I have a sister in Colorado, and out in the western United States, all these forest fires. And my sister, she got respiratory problems. She got asthma. She was in acute danger doing all these forest fires. And what she had to do is she and her husband spent all this money for air filtration in the house that she has to close off. Just like in Saddam Hussein, we had to seal off our windows with a plastic and whatnot. They had to do that there. And they put in air filtration so that the air outside couldn't come in. Everything was by phone, groceries by phone, and laundry by phone, and everything by phone. Couldn't go outside. And here we come out in Eretz Yisrael, where I live, in Ashdod, near the coast, and come out this afternoon, and there's such a wind off the southwest coast, and the breeze in the Mediterranean, Eretz Yisrael, and the Kedusha. Oh, Hashem, Kol Haneshama, and you can breathe. It is such a gift. And thank you, Hashem, for 2 eyes. Why we don't have a smile on our face? 2 reasons. 2 reasons that we aren't smiling. Number 1 is when a person doesn't have a smile, it means that he or she doesn't like the way Hashem's running the world. Now that's Amish heresy or ingratitude, at least. But the second reason he doesn't have Hashem, he doesn't have a smile on his face, because he doesn't count his blessings. As soon as I think, okay, I've got a different, okay, I've got an electric bill. They said, yeah, bill. They said it was overlaid last month and it paid on time and now it's a penalty. Hold it. Thank you, Hashem, for my eyes. Thank you, Hashem, for my breathing. Thank you, Hashem, that I could taste my food. Thank you, Hashem, for the roof over my head. Thank you, Hashem, for the clothes. Hashem. Thank you. Just start. A lot of people, we have the 100 thank yous a day, thought every day, 100 thank yous. And there's so much more. And as soon as we start thanking Hashem, this is the basics. We bring Hashem in our lives. We live with Hashem. Bring Hashem. This is what it means to be a Jew. A Jew is Yehudi. This week's Parsha. The Zohar says something very interesting. The Zohar says that Leah Emuna was the first one to thank Hashem. Wait a second, time out on the field. Hold it, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he was smarter than that. We know the Midrash tells us in Breshis that Psalm 92 that we say, Mizmoshir Yom HaShabbat, Tov Lodot Lashem. Adam Harishon, Adam said that. When did Adam say that? Adam thought he was going to get killed after he sinned, after he ate from a forbidden tree. And then he and Eve, this was their first day alive, remember? And what happened? It was sundown. The sun was sinking. And he said, Oy vey, Eve, look, the world is finished. It's darkness. We're finished. Okay, so Hashem must have corporal punishment, and Hashem doesn't kill people by daylight, so he turns off the lights, and Adam did tshuva all night long, and then when light was first light, the next morning was Shabbat. That was Shabbat in the morning. This was Friday night, and Knesat Shabbat in the morning, and the sun came up, and Adam says, no, this is the way of the world. Mizmoshir Yom HaShabbat, Tov Lodot Lashem. When Adam lived for his second day and he saw that Hashem was forgiving, Hashem wasn't going to punish him, despite the fact that there were only two mitzvahs. There were two mitzvahs back then. Two mitzvahs. One mitzvah was pre-Arviyah. One would be fruitful and multiply. And the other mitzvah, don't eat from the forbidden tree. So Adam went against the Lo Taseh, the one only mitzvah. And he thought that was it. But no, Hashem's mercy, Hashem's forgiving. And then he made tshuva. And then he said, Mizmoshir L'Yom Shabbat. So if Adam said, Mizmoshir L'Yom Shabbat, what King David codified as Psalm 92, then how can Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the Zohar say that Leah Emuna was the first person to thank Hashem? It's a real bomb kasha. Well, let's look at it this way. Let's look, what did Adam thank Hashem for? He thanked Hashem for something really good. He got his life back on a platter. This was great. This was hunky-dory. If somebody saves your life and you say thank you, and somebody who wakes up, he gets, a lot of people, they don't get the oxygen mask off their face with the COVID, and anybody that was in oxygen takes the oxygen mask off. You have a Sudas Hodaya, you thank Hashem with a minyan, and Baruch Hashem, it's a big thing. And if it's a woman, she has her husband have a Sudas Hodaya with 10 people, and we say a goimel, yeah, that's a full time, that's a goimel, full speed ahead. We're thanking Hashem, got a life back. Not everybody wakes up from that. Okay, Baruch Hashem, so here Adam got his life back. But what was Leah? What did Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai mean? What's Leah? Our children here were in Vayetze. Leah's children are born this week, okay? So we have a lot of brises to attend at Kiddushim. We do the Parshas Shavua. Parshas Shavua. By the way, while I'm speaking, all the time, I bless people. I bless people. And I bless all of you that those that don't have their soulmate should get their soulmate. Those that don't have children should have wonderful children. Those that want more children should have more children. Those that have married kids and want grandchildren, fantastic grandchildren. Those that have grandchildren, want great-grandchildren, should get all that. This is all, and it's a special, this week, when the Shvatim were born, it's special to bless one another for kids. Okay, so Bezrat Hashem, you're going to get it. And this is just the first. We'll bless you some more afterward. Okay, I love that. Baruch Hashem. So what are the names that Leah Emunu called her children? We know that the Torah says that Yaakov Avinu, he loved Rachel, Hashem ahav gam et Rachel, and that he loved her more than he loved Leah. Leah says, I'm snua. Why did she say snua? A woman, if she's second fiddle to anybody, she feels like she's hated. Yaakov Avinu, he was a tzaddik. Of course he loved Leah. Of course he loved her. But Leah thought she was a little bit less loved than Rachel. This for her was like a death. And that's why I tell husbands, I teach husbands, listen, if you want shalom bayit, your wife has to be first priority. First priority over anything. And then you can do whatever you want. But as long as she's not first priority, that she will resent anything that's not first priority. So if a husband's are cheating and listen today, and let them know. And if not, you've got Bina Yaseir, you can have to let your husband know. You want to have a good life? Okay, put me a little higher in your priorities at the very top, and you have a good life, guaranteed. And you can tell them that Laser Brody said, anybody that says makes his wife first priority is going to have 30% more parnasa. And this is a promise of the Zohar. Because the Zohar says that a husband gets an income from the illumination of the wife's soul. You know what that means? When a wife is smiling, the husband's making bucks. And if the wife's got a frown and she's angry, then the husband is not selling houses. He's not selling insurance policies. His stocks are going down. And then he look in the mirror. Okay, if you say, what's your financial problem, sir? Bitochen and Hashem and the way you love your wife. That's what you got to check. Okay, Bo Hashem. So tell your husbands that they shall have full of parnasa to raise all those wonderful children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Leah named her sons. The first son was named Reuven. And it was a sad name. Oi, Reuben, look, I've got a son. Now Yaakov is going to come to my tent and he's going to give me some attention because I gave him a son and nobody else gave him a son. And then she got another son before anybody else had. But yeah, the other wives had sons. And she called him Shimon. This was also a sad name. Shimon. Hashem Shama Adoni. Hashem heard my misery. And Hashem gave me another son. And then she had a third son, also a sad name. Oy Levi, Apam, Ishi Leveni. Now my husband, I have 3 children. He's going to accompany me. He's going to be in my tent. He's going to come and he's going to live in my tent. And I'm going to be the wife number 1 rather than wife number 2. Okay. But then, when Leah got a 4th child, here she knows she's got 3. And all the mothers had Ruach HaKodesh. They all had Ruach HaKodesh. So she knows 3 is 1/4 of 12. She's got her portion. That's fine. At least she's done her job. But now when she gets number 4, wow. What do we say when Leah, Einei Leah Rakot, that Leah's eyes are soft? Why were Leah's eyes soft? Because she was crying her eyes out the whole time she was a Beis Yaakov, the whole time she was a Meidl. She was crying her eyes out because people used to say, the big daughter to Esav, the small daughter to Yaakov, the big daughter to Esav. This was all people in the neighborhood would go and they sing that song. They knew that Yitzchak and Rivka had 2 kids, and they had Lavan, and that they had 2 daughters, and they said this is the way it's going to go: the big to the big, and the small to the small. And she says, "Oh man, she was such a tzaddikus. I'm going to be married to the head of the Israeli mafia." The head of the Tel Aviv mafia is Esav. He's in charge of gambling, in charge of black market, and in charge of all kinds of other stuff we can't say on this lesson. Now, don't drop some inspiration. We're not going to tell you that here. Not going to be that graphic. But he was head of the Tel Aviv mafia. Leah says, Leah the Tzedekis, the best girl in the Beis Yaakov in her class, the very best girl. And she's going to say, I'm married to this guy? She cried. You cry too. You cry too if they say you're married. People sang song. Okay. Yeah. Chaya's going to marry Esav. Leah's going to marry Esav. Rosalind's going to marry Esav. You're going to cry too. You're all going to cry too. Okay. She cried. But now, she turned it around. She got Yaakov. Not only did she get Yaakov, but now she has a 4th son. Boom! 4th son. In baseball, they call it the Grand Slam home run. Oh, but 4 runs at one time. 4th son. Nobody else got kids. Now what does she say? She now, for the first son, she gives a happy name. Hapam odeh et Hashem. This time I'm going to thank Hashem. And what did she thank Hashem for? She realized that all her suffering, okay, sure, Leah wasn't so gorgeous like Rachel. Rachel was cleaning the class. Rachel was in the Beis Yaakov play. She was always the soloist. Rachel was always on stage. Okay, Leah, you're a frum girl. We know you're a wonderful girl, Leah, with great midas. Okay, and maybe if you're lucky enough, you daven hard enough, and you cry your eyes out enough, maybe you'll get a rush. Oh no, Rachel, she's going to have whoever she wants. She's going to have the flashiest guy. She's the best-looking girl. Ooh. Rachel had all these brachas, and Leah had what Rav Dessler calls in Michtav Meliyahu. Leah had a nikudat bechira nechuta. That her nikudat bechira, her opening of bechira was a little bit lower because she didn't have the natural good looks that Rachel did. She didn't have the natural personality Rachel did. We see Rachel, not only that, Rachel, her midas were fantastic. We see how she acts at the well. And the way she talks to a stranger with such kavod, and the way she can imagine a little 3-year-old girl, how much water it takes to draw from the well for 10 thirsty camels that just came to Syria, to northern Syria from Eretz Yisrael, had thirsty camels. I mean, once made a calculation that it's unbelievable. A well-fit athlete couldn't do what she did. She did it. Now the word, yeah. She says, I'm gonna give you Rachel had great midas. She was so popular, but he loved her. Okay, she's good, Yaakov Avinu. So Leah was sad, but now Leah understands that all her suffering was all for the best, because in the end, when the smoke clears, Leah's got all these brachas. Not only does she have 4 sons, she's going to get son number 5. She's going to get son number 6. Hashem is about to give her son number 7. And she says, oh, no, I can't do that, because then my sister will only have 1 son. So she judges herself. Hashem, change it. And Hashem did a miracle. Hashem did a miracle. This is impossible. You have to know one thing. After 6 weeks of expecting, you don't pray for a boy or a girl. You don't pray for it. That's been determined. That's been determined. And then just don't do that. Okay, but she did it. She did it because of her sister, not because of her own priority. She did it because of her sister. Okay, Hashem said this is such an altruistic prayer, Leah, that will change to Dina. And Dina got her name Dina because of the way that Leah judged herself. So Leah was the first person in history to thank Hashem for the pain in her life, for the problems in her life, for the tribulations in her life. And this is what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai means in the Zohar. Nobody in history until Leah Imenu, Mama Leah, boy, I love Mama Leah. Whenever I go to Rav Machpelah, I go right to Mama Leah, because Lazer Brody is her spoiled son. Everything I pray for there, almost anything, people ask me, I go there and she answers all my prayers. Really, I tell you stories, unbelievable. But Mama Leah is the first person on earth that ever thanked Hashem for her problems. Cherished sisters, when you thank Hashem for your problems, this opens up every gate of salvation. Every gate of salvation. Where do we learn this from? Where do we learn the basics from? Okay, who said that everything is for the best? That was Nachum Ish Gamzu. Nachum Ish Gamzu in the Gemara and Tractate Tanis. Let me tell you a story. You all know the stories about Nachum Ish Gamzu, about how he went to Rome, and with all the jewels from the Jewish people that were downtrodden. We have to understand this is the most difficult period in Jewish history. We are talking about the Roman occupation after Churban Abayit. But Nachum Ish Gamzu and Rebbe Akiva lived in the time between the destruction of the Second Temple and the Bar Kokhba revolt. At the time, the Bar Kokhba revolt was at the time more or less that most of the 10 martyrs, that was when Rebbe Akiva was martyred. Okay, and Rebbe Akiva, I'll tell you a story about basics. We'll talk about basics. First of all, Nachum Ish Gamzu was a miracle worker. Nachum Ish Gamzu is like, let's compare Nachum Ish Gamzu to the Baba Sali. Okay, Baba Sali, Kedusha, this generation, we didn't know any other holiness higher than the Baba Sali in this generation. That was Nachum Ish Gamzu. Okay, but Baba Sali, If someone wanted psak, they would go to Rebbe Vadia, or they would go to Rav Vosner, if they're Ashkenazi. They would go, okay, Rav Vosner, Rebbe Vadia. These are the giants of this previous generation. Okay. People they ask advice and they blessings from Baba Sali, but they didn't ask. Same thing with Nachum Ishkamzu. Nachum Ishkamzu, in all of Gemara, there is one halacha mentioned by Nachum Ishkamzu. Okay. Now, for those that don't know, just a little bit of background education, where does our halacha come from? Our halacha comes, it's all based in the oral Torah, because the Torah, when the Torah tells you that you should put frontlets on your eyes and on your arms, you don't know from what the Torah says, for you, and it should be a letter on your arm and frontlets on your eyes. People don't know how to make tefillin. Okay, so we learn that from the oral Torah. We don't know how to write a mezuzah. We learn that from the oral Torah. We don't know a lot of things. We don't know, it's just the whole laws of shechita are two words in the Torah. V'shachatim b'zeh. V'shachatim b'zeh. We don't know how to shechita. They didn't learn that from the Gemara. This was the oral Torah. Where did the oral Torah come from? The oral Torah was what Hashem gave to Moses. Moses came down from Mount Sinai, as we say in the introduction in Pirkei Avot, and Moses taught Aaron, and Aaron taught his son, the Kohanim, and they taught the elder, the one by the prophets, and go all the way down, filters down to us. Okay, generation by generation. So what had happened during the time of Rabbi Akiva and the Roman occupation I mentioned, it the torture and it was so terrible, so difficult, that Torah was in danger of being forgotten. So Rabbi Akiva decided that it'd be a good idea to write down in a telegraphic form the oral Torah. This is the Mishnah. Okay, Rabbi Akiva codified the Mishnah. And then Rabbi Akiva codified the Mishnah, and then his student, Rabbi Meir Balanes, polished up the language, and his student, Rabbi Judah Nasi, finally codified the Mishnah. These are the Tanaic sages, okay, for all this period. After that comes the Amoretic sages, the Amoraim, and they commented on the Mishnah, which is very staccato telegraphic form, and then elaborate on it, and that's the Gemara. The Mishnah and the Gemara are the oral law. Then come along our Rishonim, the Rambam and the Rif and the Rosh, and they take the Talmud and they boil it down into halacha, which comes the Rambam's Yad Chazakah and the Rif and the Rosh, and from that came along in the 16th century Rabbi Yosef Karo and took the lessons of the Rishonim and made the code of Jewish law. This is how it comes down. So why did I give you the explanation, general background, to get, first of all, general education? It's good. It all stems to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva learned from his two main rabbis, which was Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer the Great. From Eliezer the Great and Rabbi Yeshua, they were both students of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. All the oral law stems down from them. Rabbi Akiva took it and codified it. Okay. Rabbi Eliezer is on his deathbed. Rabbi Akiva goes to see his Rebbe. And Rabbi Eliezer says, this way before Rabbi Akiva was martyred, he says, Akiva, you're going to have a torturous death. Sounds like he's cursing his student. What's he talking about? He says, Akiva, you didn't learn a fraction of what you could learn from me. If you would have stayed with me long, you would have learned from me so much more. Okay, so where did Rabbi Akiva go? Well, it turned out that it was not a curse, it was prophetic. He knew by Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara tells us that Rabbi Akiva left his two scholarly rebbes. Today it was like being saying Rav Vosner and Rabbi Vadia Yosef, that Rabbi Akiva learned Sephardi Psak by Rabbi Vadia Yosef and Ashkenazi Psak by Rav Vosner, both of Zecher Tzadik Livracha, and he left them to go to the Baba Sali to learn how to bless people. To learn what? That's not reasonable. And he's the one that brings down the world Torah. No. Rabbi Akiva went to Nachum Ishkamzu, learned 22 years. Know why? To learn Emuna. He spent 22 years learning Emuna. And that's why we have stories in the Gemara. You know, the story when he's with the greats of the generation, Rabbi Tarfon and Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah. And they go past the Holy of Holies, and they see a fox coming out of the Holy of Holies, and they all begin crying. And Rabbi Akiva says, what are you crying for? And he's laughing. And they say, Rabbi Akiva, what are you laughing for? And he says, well, he brings the prophecy. With the fox is going to come in the Holy of Holies. Then this is the prophecy after that Hashem is going to redeem his people and rebuild the Holy Temple. Rabbi Akiva looked at everything at the good. And we know the story about Rabbi Akiva with the candle and the donkey and the rooster. And he was there at night. Nobody would let him stay in their house. They couldn't find it. He went out on a hill, and a wind came out and blew out his candle. And a wild animal ate his rooster. And another wild animal ate his donkey. And the next day he sees that all the people in the village where he wanted to stay for the night, they're all dead. The Romans came and killed him at night. If Rabbi Akiva would have, and after everything that happened, every calamity, this is for the best, this is for the best, this is for the best. If the candle, the wind didn't blow out the candle, the Romans would see, oh, there's one Jew left on the hill, we got to get him too. And if the rooster wasn't killed by some wildcat, then they'd heard crowing in the morning, oh, there's a Jew up there. And if a donkey, you've heard of a donkey, if you've ever gone to an Arab village, and let's hear what it sounds at 3:30 in the morning, when all the donkeys bray and they're hungry, they want to eat. Okay, Hashem couldn't have that. So he learned, this were all his three possessions of the world. His donkey, his candle, and his rooster. Hashem took them all away. But he gave Rabbi Akiva his life. And Rabbi Akiva went on to be a rich man because his father-in-law that disowned him, ended up giving him all his money. Everything turns out for the best. So let's flash back to the end. And we're 2 weeks from Hanukkah, but I'm going to tell you a story that we normally tell on Tisha B'Av because it's basics of Emuna. The Gemara in Tractate Brachos, at the end of Tractate Brachos, tells about the circumstances of Rabbi Akiva's death. And I'm not going to be too graphic because it's painful. The Romans put him up on like a gallows, but there's not a noose. And the Romans have these rakes, and each prong in the rake is like a knife, and they're raking Rabbi Akiva's flesh. That's not enough. Imagine, I could tell you that a person's mother and father bring him to the physical world, but a person's Rebbe and teacher brings him into the next world. And if you have a Rebbe or a teacher that you love, and this is what David and Jonathan said to each other, this is greater than the love of the opposite sex. This is such love. And Rabbi Akiva's students were forced to look at him while he was being tortured. Unspeakable torture. The North Koreans and the Chinese, they weren't as sadistic as the Romans. Remember that the Romans are the great grandsons of Esau. Okay. And if you know the Roman symbol, the eagle, where did you see that before? The Nazis tell us, the Nazis are predicted in the Gemara and Tractate Megillah. It's also, all the Nazi imagery, it's all back from the Romans. And Romans, they come from Esau. And Haman is also from Esau. Oh, they're our arch enemies. So they're torturing Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva is smiling. And this is Shabbos Shuvah. It's Erev Shabbos. The sun is going down. It's Erev Shabbos. It's time to say Kriya Shema. And there's a Roman soldier by each one of the students holding his head, making him look at the torture of his Rebbe. And they're screaming, Rebbe, wait, we can't see them. Rabbi Akiva is smiling. The Gemara tells us Rabbi Akiva's family is smiling. And Rabbi Akiva, he's about to say Kriya Shema. And they say, Rebbe, how can you? Rebbe says, I've waited all my life to fulfill B'chol levavcha, Uv'chol nafshecha, Uv'chol no'idecha. I've waited all my life where I can love Hashem with all my heart, with all my might, all my soul. And now I'm not going to be happy. This is what Rabbi Akiva prepared himself 22 years for. Because if a person doesn't have Emuna, Frumkeit's not worth anything. If a person doesn't have Emuna, he's got no cheshek, he's got no desire to pray, he's got no desire for halacha, looks for shortcuts. That you see people that they go to shul, men they go to shul, it's like a weight on their shoulder, get it off the shoulder. And then they go in shul, and during shul, they're looking at their text messaging and all that kind of stuff. Ever since the beginning of COVID, we made here at our shul in Ashdod, not only do you have to turn your cell phones off, you're not allowed to bring a cell phone into the shul. Nothing. Because look at the message in COVID. we're all kicked out of shul. It's not nice. Why did Hashem do that? That's because we didn't appreciate it. We didn't properly honor it. It's called Mikdash Ma'at. In a generation where we don't have the base of Mikdash, the synagogue is the mini temple. Also, the house is the mini temple. A person's not allowed to be angry at home. They're not allowed to say bad language at home. You have to understand, treat your house. Your house is a mini temple. This is not my words of Gemara. And your table, if there's no mizbeach, there's no altar, your table, it atones for the whole family. This is it. Rabbi Akiva says, waited my whole time, my whole life. And this is what Rabbi Akiva did. He knew that his Torah, and this is why Rabbi Akiva's Torah is alive today, and why the Gemara in Tractate Menachos, page 29, says that since Moshe Rabbeinu, there was nobody greater than Rabbi Akiva, because Rabbi Akiva was the real deal. He was Torah and Emuna. And all of our Torah is designed to bring us get close to Hashem. Two things. Another thing Rabbi Akiva said. Rabbi Akiva said, somebody asked Rabbi Akiva, there's a story about Hillel the elder. The Roman soldier asked him to say the whole Torah standing on one foot. And he told him, don't do what is hateful to someone else, don't do it. So this is what he said to the Roman soldier. But when a Jew asked Rabbi Akiva said that the whole Torah is ve'afta l'recha kamocha. Okay, a Roman soldier, he understands not to hit somebody on the head with a baseball bat. Because if you hit somebody on the head with a baseball bat, you might get hit back with a baseball bat. That's not a good idea. Go around hitting people with a baseball bat. Okay, but as Jews, we don't see that. We say the whole Torah, Rabbi Akiva told us, is to bring us to love each other. And it's a big problem. Likud and Marach and Dati and Lo Dati and Haredi and Dati and Chiloni and boom, boom, boom. Oh, did Am Yisrael, you don't have enough enemies? You got to do all this separation between yourself? I can't stand this. Mamash can't stand it. Okay, and we need an oppression. Hitler did not have separate ovens for Hasidim, for Litvaks, and for Sephardim, for religious, for non-religious. Hitler was an equal opportunity murderer. Okay, he threw all the Jews in the same ovens. And the same ovens, they all said the same Shema Yisrael. So we got to learn from our oppressors that they're better than us. Chas v'shalom. Chas v'shalom. So look what Rabbi Akiva told us. Why did Rabbi Akiva say that the whole Torah is v'aftalecha kamocha, you're loving your neighbor, and the whole Torah is an Emuna? Because you cannot begin to love your neighbor until you have Emuna. You know why? With Emuna, it frees you all the negative emotions. As we said at the beginning, and it's why I prefaced, that you have your own correction. You can do something that no one else can do. Don't be jealous of anyone else because they got tools. Very simply, if an electrician is jealous of a plumber, open up the electrician's toolbox and see what he's got inside. Open up the plumber's toolbox and see what he's got inside. The electrician does not have a monkey wrench. He does not need a monkey wrench. And the plumber does not have a tester screwdriver that he sticks into a socket, turns on the light to see if there's a live wire or not. He doesn't need that. Chas v'sholom, he better not have it, because he better not be mixing electricity with the water. They have each other separate tools. Well, we understand that an electrician has a separate job in life, and a plumber has a separate job in life. Why don't we understand that each of us has separate jobs in life? Okay, so maybe it's part of the other woman's, don't be jealous that she's got a nicer living room furniture than you do. Okay, this is what her neshama needs, but you probably eat food that's much tastier than she does on Shabbos, and a third woman, she's got challahs that neither one of you have. Everybody has their own talent and ability to do their job on earth. Now, once we recognize that, we can learn from each other and love one another. But if a person doesn't have Emuna, a person is jealous, he's got all that. He said, a person with Emuna, a person has Emuna, he cannot talk Lashon Hara about a single person on earth, much less a fellow Jew. He just can't do it. Because Racham Avakol Masav, Hashem loves all his creations. Why talk? It's not the other person. It's Hashem. Hashem, this is what Rabbi Akiva did. He learned from Nachumish Gamzu, his Rebbe, Gamzu L'Tova. And Rabbi Akiva says it in Aramaic, Kol Ma'id Rachman Avid L'Taiv Avid, that everything Hashem does is for the good. And Nachum Mishkamsu said, Gamzu L'Tova. And this is Leah Imenu. Yehuda, her fourth son. Hapam Odeh Hashem. Now stop and think. Why are we called Yehudim after this Yehuda? How come we're not called Ruvanim or Levim or Shimonim? We're called Yehuda, not because of Shevet Yehuda, but the source is because of what the Zohar says, that Leah Imenu thanked Hashem. Yehuda was the first son where she gave a name of thanks. Upon Odet Hashem. This time I'm going to thank Hashem. And that's why Yehudi means lahodot, to thank. In other words, here in Ashdod, there's a family of Ger Hasidim, and their last name is Gotdenker. Love that. Yiddish, that's the person thanks Hashem. Okay, Gotdenker. First thanks Hashem. Really, as Jews, we also have that last name, Gotdenker. We're all thank Hashem, thank Hashem, thank Hashem. We wake up in the morning, Modani Lefanecha. Before we go to bed at night, we thank Hashem all day long, all day long. Just imagine, you do a favor for someone. You have a guest, and you knocked yourself out in the kitchen. You made a fantastic gourmet meal that you don't make for your own family. You did special for the guests. And then you finish the meal, and it was okay. Wait, don't you appreciate what the host did for you? You know, another guest said, she does that for herself. It's no big deal. So she put another plate on the table. Okay, you feel terrible. Okay, you want to take the baseball bat and smash that guest. Okay, what do you think? Hashem feeds us, and we say, well, we're saying Birkat Hamazon. We're reading, we're looking at text messages. We're reading a newspaper. We're doing this. Well, it's the insult. This is to Hashem. And the same thing, we have to stop and think. This is the basics. Cherished sisters, this is the basics we want to think about. As soon as we bring the basics, we bring basic emuna in our life, which is gratitude to Hashem. And a Jew, gratitude, lodot. The Jew he gives thanks. And just be thankful. As soon as we thank Hashem, we've got a smile on our face. It doesn't leave. And you know what happens when you have a smile on your face? And you know what happens when you have a sparkle of emuna in your eyes? There is no cosmetic company. I don't know the names of cosmetic companies, Helen Rubinstein, Estee Lauder, or whatever they are. There is no cosmetic company that can make you so beautiful as a smile on your face and a sparkle of emuna in your eyes. And your husband look at you, and that's it. Okay, so what's it mean to get a kvetching wife? You gotta like the way Hashem runs the world. It's not your husband, it's Hashem. Your husband is a puppet. Okay, your husband is if we were in a hall, okay, at regular time, and we were speaking in RBS or wherever, I think that's where Representative Joyce is, RBS, yeah? Okay, if we were in RBS and speaking, and you don't like what I'd say, you wouldn't take a tomato and throw it at the speaker, at the speaker box, or at the microphone, you throw it at me. I'm like, okay, what do? Whoever's bothering you that's the microphone. The speaker is Hashem. So wait a second. Hashem wants to awaken me. Hashem wants to arouse me to do some type of cheshbon nefesh, to do some type of self-searching. And so I'll do tshuva. For example, all of a sudden, your daughter comes home from school. She's a great girl. Out of the clear blue, she's disrespectful. Wait a second. So what are you going to yell at your daughter? You don't want to yell at your daughter. Stop and think. What did I do? What does it mean when our children are disrespectful? What does it mean? It means that Shem runs the entire world, mida keneged mida. I call it the Adfad principle, a turn for a turn. Turn for a turn. It means that we did something equivalent to Hashem. Ooh, maybe I was disrespectful of Hashem. Maybe in the Birkat Hamazon, I was making all kinds of signs and messages to other people, and my head wasn't in here. Maybe lighting Shabbos candles. I did it real quick to go talk to the girls out and to go gossip with the girls in the park. This is what Hashem is doing this, not to make us suffer. Hashem wants us every day to do a spiritual shower. That's tshuva. A physical shower, we all know. You all just show up and shampoo and shower, especially in Eretz Yisrael, every day, even in the winter. Okay. But spiritual shower, that's tshuva, that's checking ourselves, self-evaluation. And sometimes when we fail to do it, Hashem gives us difficulty so that we will do it. It's all for the best. So with Emuna, we put ourselves in a mindset, even though I don't understand, I know that everything Hashem is doing in my life is all for the best. That's the back to basics. And that puts a smile on my face. And as soon as we have a smile on our face, the smile on your face is a statement that you like the way Hashem is running the world. And Hashem says, my beloved daughter, you like the way I'm running the world? I know the difficulties you have in life. But if you thank me for what you have, I'm going to now give you real big reasons to thank me. And you get this upward spiral of blessings. But the opposite holds true too. If you got parnasa, you got a roof over your head, you got clothes, you got everything, you got children, but you complain about your children, complain about your husband. Oh, not everyone. I think I can show you lots of emails. Rabbi, give me a blessing. I should find my soulmate. Okay. So she's got her husband. She doesn't even call him Yaakov or Aaron. She calls him Shnuki. And she thinks she got that. Hashem made a mistake. Hashem was on a lunch break or out on the golf course when she got her shidduch. No, Hashem did not make a mistake. If you stood under the chuppah with your husband, that's your bashert. That's it. Sometimes I get emails from women that have been married 15, 20 years, and they got 5, 6 kids, and they write me and they ask me, Rav Laser, how do I know that my husband is my bashert? Oh, good morning, young lady. Now you wake up. If you stood under the chuppah, Hashem could have all kinds of reasons to break up that shidduch. But that's your bashert. That's your bashert. So thank Hashem for it. As soon as you thank Hashem for him, you'll see his good points, and you'll be a lot happier. Baruch Hashem, there's so much more to speak. I'm going to leave time for prayers, but I want to thank Rebbetzin and Joyce for the opportunity to meet you all and to speak to you all. And before we answer questions, just want to bless everyone with good health, good parnasa, nachas from the kinderlach, all your heart's wishes for the very best. Hashem should give you whatever you need, the best in abundance and material and spiritual wealth and everything you ever dreamed of. Amen.